style. I guess what can you say about his performance to move up to heavyweight 3 years away?
Listen, anybody deny this guy is the GOAT anymore? I don't think anybody would deny it. Not only is he the greatest light heavyweight ever, he looks like the greatest heavyweight ever too. So, I mean, there were a couple of interviews leading up to this fight where he was saying, I'm going to make this look easy. And I thought that was a silly thing to say. The guy is unfucking believable, man. He really is.
I never forget when he claimed the light heavyweight title that you kind of mentioned at the time. You were a little worried about him and how he was going to be in his career and what was going to happen. What do you think now that he's your heavyweight champion? I mean, do you feel like he's a new guy at this point, or you still have concerns about what happens?
You know, let's just put it this way. I mean, Jon Jones, there's no doubt that Jon Jones is special. He's the greatest of all time. He's undefeated. He's never lost a fight ever in the UFC. He's fought all the best competition out there. But dealing with him is like dealing with an artist, is the best way to explain it. And I don't know what's going to happen from here on out, you know? I'm just happy we got to see what we saw tonight. It just, and many of us that have been in the game for a long time, some of you might disagree, some of you might agree. I'm a big believer in ring rust and what it does to you. We didn't even get to see any ring rust. Who knows if there was any ring rust tonight? He just went in there and literally made it look like nothing, like it was the easiest thing in the world for him to do. He's a total freak of nature, and he's the best ever.
Joe Rogan brought up the idea of Stipe at International Fight Week. Is that something that you guys have kicked around, or do you feel like that could be the plan?
I don't know when, but he's definitely fighting Stipe.
I want to ask you about Alexa Grasso as well. Obviously, phenomenal win for her. I guess, what are your thoughts on her as the new flyweight champ?
Yeah, I mean, she looked awesome tonight. Her hands looked really good when she got taken down and was on her back. I loved how busy she was in the guard. And kept moving, kept Valentina working, kept throwing punches. I mean, she came in with an awesome game plan tonight and executed it perfectly. I think a lot of people, including me, thought that Valentina was probably going to be too strong for her, too much for her. She proved everybody wrong, and she looked incredible tonight.
Obviously, we've got to check on health and all those things, but, I mean, given Valentina's long dominance, would you say an immediate rematch is warranted because of what she's accomplished?
I don't know, but, yeah, probably. But sitting right here right now, I haven't even thought of that. Only you guys think of shit like that after just watching what we watched tonight.
I did want to say, I mean, 3 Mexican champions now at this point, pretty incredible. Is it safe to say you'll be going to Mexico sometime this year?
Probably, yeah. It seems like the thing to do. If you look at what's going on with the Mexican champions and fighters right now, wait till this PI is open down there for 5-6 years. Watch what's going to happen in Mexico. It's just, you know, we're finally getting to where I wanted to be with Mexico. Been a big focus of mine since day one. Took a long time, but here we are.
And just last thing for me, I did want to ask you about Shavkat as well. Obviously, fight of the night, you just praise it. But I saw you get up and get out of your seat to go talk to him. So tell me what you think of him.
Well, it's very rare that you'll see me go up into the octagon for a fight that isn't a title fight. But not just him, but Jeff Neal too. I mean, those guys fought their asses off. And there's many times when you don't make weight, you don't get the bonus no matter what happens. There's no way in hell I wasn't going to give that kid the bonus tonight. The heart that he showed tonight, the knees that he took, the punches that he fired back with and landed. And, I mean, you know, both guys just fought an absolute dogfight. I love that fight, and I have nothing but the utmost respect for both of those guys.
Hey, Dana, to your left. You know, you and I have talked a long time about how good Jon would have been if he didn't get in all that trouble or anything. Now that you see him, even though he's older now than he was before, do you think he can be even better as a heavyweight than he was as a light heavyweight?
I don't think that you and I ever really argued about how good he could be. He was. He is. He's always been the great. I mean, through all the things that me and Jones have been through, you know, in both of our careers here, I've never denied that this guy's the best ever. The question is, how big would he be right now? And I say, I mean, you see, he's got the biggest heavyweight fight of all time, one of the top grossing fights. Eric was just telling me tonight, this is going to be one of the biggest social media events we've ever done, et cetera, et cetera. The question is, this guy he should be on Nike commercials. Those are the things when you talk about how big and how great Jon Jones could have been had he not had the personal problems. Those are the questions that we'll never know.
And you look at him now, do you think, given his attitude that he has, he seems so grateful for things, he seems in great condition, that he can go on a long time, right? I mean, who knows what he wants to do, but do you see in him that he has a number of fights in him if he chooses to do that?
I don't know. This is what you get when you're dealing with Jon Jones. I know he wants to fight Stipe. He wants to fight Stipe. He's interested in that fight. If that fight happens, awesome. We get to see this talented freak, perform again. If not, I don't know. Who knows? I told Hunter, charter a jet and send him right back to New Mexico right now. Let's get him home safe and sound.
The other thing I wanted to ask you about was was Gane, he made Gane not look very good, and Ciryl gets out wrestled by Francis, now comes in this fight. Do you think Ciryl needs to kind of go back to the drawing board and kind of take a look at what he's doing? Obviously a great athlete, but maybe hasn't gotten all the pieces together that he needs to compete against these kind of guys?
Well, the Francis fight, if he doesn't go for the heel hook, he wins that fight. I mean, he made one silly mistake, out of the 5 rounds. Tonight, to even compare Francis Ngannou or Ciryl Gane to Jon Jones, you can't even compare him to this guy. He went in there and finished. I don't know how you got. I still can't fucking believe what I saw. How easy and how fast and how simple he made that look. It's still blowing my mind. So it's hard to even talk about him in any other heavyweights.
Last thing I wanted to ask you is, how much of it do you think in his case is mental? He's a guy, when he focuses, he seems like he raises it up even a higher level than he is, when he's, doing whatever else he does. When he said he didn't train for Gus and he fought a great fight, but then when he does focus, he seems like against DC, he brought it up another level. Do you think that mental aspect of his game could get him higher and bring him to another level in the sport?
I don't know if there is another level. I think he is the level. He's the level. I mean, I've heard stories that I don't know if they're true or not true. I don't know what's true or not true anymore these days. But if the stories are true that I've heard of Jon Jones in the past when he was the dominant light heavyweight champion, wow. Stories of not training and partying too much and just showing up here and fighting these incredible fights and beating the absolute best in the world. And even if you look at him tonight, he's had 3 years to put on the weight. A lot of people are saying, I don't know, he looks soft. What if this, that, and, blah, blah, blah. Ciryl Gane is a monster in great physical shape and everything else. Jon Jones went in there and just treated him like he was a little kid. So I think he is the level. I don't know if there's any other level higher than Jon Jones.
Dan over here in the front.
Yeah.
I know you gave him a bonus, but can I get a few words on what you thought of Bo Nickal's performance in his debut, only 3-0?
Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of questions about him, and when you saw his opponent tonight, guy's huge. He's got like 21 fights, ton of experience, and I thought that, listen, he's a human being. I don't care what level of wrestling he's good. This isn't wrestling. This is a completely different game here, and there's adrenaline dumps. There's, the nervous energy, all the things of performing in the UFC for the first time. Man, he blew all that right out of the water. He went in there. He looked incredible. And, Mick came over to me after and said, he wasn't even applying that choke the right way, and he still got that choke and choked him. So, I mean, wait till that kid's been in this sport 2-3 years.
So how do you manage going off of that? How do you manage his future going forward? Because he's clearly very talented, but his record is, 4-0, 5-0. It might be difficult to matchmake for him going forward. Yeah,
well, if he's fighting a guy 3-0 with 21 fights and as big as the kid that he fought tonight and strong, I mean, you see the legs on that kid? I don't know. I think he's there. I think this guy could possibly go out and, I mean, when you look at the early days of the UFC, and it's hard to compare that to now, but guys like Cain Velasquez fought for a title when he was 8-0 or something like that. You know what I mean? So who knows? When you have that much talent and he's only going to get better, and every fight that he gets is the kind of experience that he needs, like Rachmanov, right? He's 16-0, but tonight's fight will take him to another level. When you fight a guy like Neil, who puts on a performance like he did tonight, and not just testing him as far as his physical and cardio and all the other things, testing his chin, his heart. That's what helps take these guys to another level.
And Cody Garbrandt obviously got back into the win column too, not the firefight we were accustomed to seeing from him in recent fights. What did you make of his performance?
With who?
Cody?
Yeah. You know what? I was crazy busy in the back. I had a ton of crazy shit going on back there tonight, and I didn't see any fights before. I saw Derek Brunson on, but I missed the Cody fight because I was dealing with some stuff back. Nothing bad, just work stuff.
So Derek Brunson's corner threw in the towel.
Yeah, I saw that.
So what did you make of that?
I thought the fight should have been stopped, and I applaud his corner for throwing in the towel. Seen a few fights here that I thought should have been stopped by the referee. Not tonight, but I'm just saying in the UFC. And I thought the corner should have thrown in the towel.
Unrelated to this fight card, but is there a location for the May 6th card? Because Newark seems to be what everyone's saying, but I think I saw in an interview where you said Vegas might want the Cinco de Mayo fight week because Canelo is in Mexico that week.
No, so what happened with that was I was telling my team, I think we should do a Cinco de Mayo fight. Now we have 3 Mexican-born champions, and we were trying to figure it out. Canelo had the date, and not that I wouldn't go, but it's an Eddie Hearn fight, and I like Eddie Hearn. I'm not going to try to do that, but just I don't know. We don't know yet. We're still talking about it and working on it.
Dana back here.
Yeah, buddy, go ahead.
Dana, on the topic of Mexican champions, people are wondering about the future for Amanda Nunes and if Irene Aldana is the next woman up potential for her.
Yeah, no, we're working on a fight for Aldana right now.
Is it the title?
I don't know yet.
And then secondly, just talking a little bit more about the card, Ian Gary stays undefeated, overcame some adversity, already has the Conor McGregor stamp of approval. Just what are your thoughts on his performance and his run so far in the UFC as a prospect?
Yeah, I didn't see the fight. I just saw the finish on the replay. But yeah, no, he's a stud, man. And from what I hear, he got clipped early and came back and had a great finish. I didn't see the fight yet, though.
Dracus du Plessis gets a win over a top-ranked guy, and people wondering, hey, is he already in that talk for potential title eliminator? Just want your thoughts on the future for him.
That was an awesome fight, too. Great fight, and obviously a huge win for him beating Brunson in such a war. And he just knocked off one of the top guys, so we'll see what's next for him.
Dana.
Yep.
Hey, Dana.
Yep.
I'm from Brazil, so how is the launch of the new Fight Pass in Brazil? How is it going?
How's the launch of Fight Pass going?
Yeah.
Good. I think it's going great. Actually, it's funny you asked me that. I have a meeting for that this week. They're presenting to me this week, so I'll know more about it at the next press conference.
Text me when you know more then.
I will.
Dana back here. I'm behind all these cameras. Question about Valentina. She had talked earlier in the week that she was open to a fight with Amanda. Can that fight happen without her having a belt?
It wouldn't make much sense. Had she won tonight, I mean, it would make a lot more sense. It would be like a super fight. But yeah, probably not. And I'm sure she's probably more interested in Alexa Grasso right now than.
And then, as a follow-up, you mentioned the gate and about it being the highest heavyweight grossing fight of all times. How did the fight trend throughout the week? Did it pick up later in the week as Jon spoke and was more available to the media? Or was it trending high kind of throughout once it was announced?
Yeah, well, not once it was announced. Once we start fight week on Monday. Once Monday started and content starts going up, it was big. I mean, every single post on my Instagram alone that has anything to do with the fight is over a million views, and I think the press conference stare downs were like at over 3 million. So I was saying earlier, it's going to be one of the biggest fights ever on social media.
Dana, right here. I'm curious, tonight we saw them film some scenes from Roadhouse and yesterday as well. What was that like, just having all that going on, and how did that all?
I mean, it went pretty smooth, considering I don't really like doing stuff like that. So it went pretty smooth.
How do you feel you did during the stare down? Do you feel you were?
Well, if I can't fucking do that, I don't know. I don't know what I can do. That's about as much acting as I want to do ever.
And what's the process like when they're doing a movie like that? We saw a little bit with the Halle Berry movie, but getting all the UFC related stuff in that movie, is that something that took a long time to negotiate, or was it easy? Well,
Joel Silver is the producer on this thing, and he has a great relationship with us and obviously with Ari Emanuel. And Conor is one of the big characters in the movie, so we made it pretty easy for him.
And speaking of Conor, we had Michael Chandler back here earlier in the night, and he seemed to be getting a little antsy as far as figuring out a date. He said he had his team ask your people maybe September or something like that. Is there any update on when we could maybe see this fight?
Trust me, if there was, you would have heard about it already. As soon as there is, we'll announce it. But no, not yet.
And speaking of lightweights, we had Islam Makhachev I saw here tonight. I know you said last week that you want him and Volk to defend, and Volk's going to do Yair. Any idea who Islam could potentially fight next?
No, we haven't really talked about that yet. Obviously, it was a no-brainer after the fight who Volkanovski would fight. Yair looked incredible and absolutely dominant. And then we'll figure out what's next for Islam.
Yeah, we have that fight with Beneil and Charles coming up in May. I know Dustin Poirier has been kind of outspoken, maybe wanting that shot. Is there any chance maybe he's someone you consider?
That he wants what?
He wants the shot maybe at Islam next.
Got it. Yeah, no, we really haven't even talked about that yet. There's been so much shit going on. We haven't even had a matchmaking meeting in like 2 weeks. So we got to get our shit together after this event.
Thank you.
Yep.
Dana down here to your right. Dana.
Yep.
You're right here. You touched on how impressed you were with Shavkat Rakhmonov. He called out Colby Covington afterwards. I know you don't make fights straight afterwards, you always say it, but is that something that makes sense?
Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah, that's fun. That's a fun one.
In Abu Dhabi, as Jose asked?
Oh, I'm not making the fight. I'm just saying, yeah, that sounds fun. I didn't know he did that, but we'll see.
And it's been over a year, like pretty much to the day since Colby last fought for Masvidal right here. Do you guys have an update on him at all, or?
On Colby?
Yes.
Yeah, Colby's ready to fight. He's ready to fight, and he's ready to fight anybody. I know we've reached out to him for a couple of different fights, and he said yes to it, but it just didn't work out.
And I don't mean to potentially put a dampener on Jon's major success that he has right here, but he said he's not getting lit this weekend, but he's got an after party here in Vegas. Does that at all worry you slightly?
He has an after fight party here?
Yes, he does. I think it's at Hakkasan. Not that I'm plugging tickets. Or
There's a billboard for it on the street.
Is there really?
Yeah. So does that worry you at all slightly? I mean,
it does a little bit, yeah. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie.
Thank you.
Like I said, I told Hunter, charter a fucking plane and get him back to New Mexico ASAP. I didn't know he had an after party, but.
Thank you.
Dana?
Thank you. Yep.
Dana?
Yep.
From a business perspective, it's of course great that Jon Jones won tonight, but the fact that Ciryl Gane lost and he was like the French fighter in UFC, and you guys had a big event last September in France. Do you see that maybe as as a problem for the growth of the sport in France? Or?
It's funny. Eric was telling me tonight that the UFC is the top 13 trends in France. He said that's unheard of. It's just that type of stuff never happens. So I don't look at things that way as far as the business goes, because whoever wins, and it is what it is. It's like we were talking about, Mexico has been a huge focus for me for a very long time. And here we are in 23, and it's all just starting to align now, where we have 3 Mexican-born champions. We're building a PI there. It's just, you do what you can do, you focus on certain areas, you build the business, and then it's all out of your hands once that cage door shuts. It's up to them, it's not up to us, and we just have to go with whatever happens, Ciryl Gane is from France, but he's still one of the best heavyweights in the world. It's just Jon Jones is so much better than everybody else. It's crazy.
Dana, when Michael Chandler was back here, he said that him and Conor have not really liked each other as much as he thought they would, and actually there's a bit of contention in filming of Tough. Has there been any incidents between those two?
That who didn't like each other?
Michael Chandler says him and Conor are not friends.
He and Conor are not friends? That's weird.
How's the filming?
Did anybody think they were friends?
I think they liked each other before they started filming.
You think that what?
They liked each other before they started filming. Michael said he thought he was going to get on with Conor, and since filming...
Oh, Michael?
Yeah, Michael Chandler.
Oh, Chandler. All right, I don't hear well. Thought you said Makachev.
No.
Like, where are you from, buddy, that you think those two were going to be friends? Yeah, but they did. Chandler and Conor were very respectful to each other, and then some things started escalating that you'll see on the show, and yeah, they do not like each other now. A lot of shit went down on Friday. Yeah.
Good for the show, though?
I don't look at stuff that's good for the show or things like that. Whatever happens, happens. The stuff that just happened shouldn't have happened, and I'm getting old, boys. I'm getting old. I would have been in there sooner, back in the old days, but yeah, not good.
Did it get physical?
There was a lot of shit that went down on Friday. Yeah.
Dana over here. Just a quick one. We had Marc-Andre Barrio win earlier tonight. When are you coming back to Canada? September 2019 was the last event in Vancouver. Is there anything in the works at all? A lot of Canadians are wanting to know.
Yeah, tonight was a massive event in Canada. We were trending really, really big in Canada for pay-per-view. And obviously, Canada's been an incredible market for us since the early days. So we're trying to get back to everywhere right now. But yeah, we're going to get to Canada soon. We're working on that now and figuring that out. There's just, because of the COVID thing, you know, there's so many places that we haven't been in a lot. I mean, we're going back to Miami for the first time in 20 years. So the answer is yes.
Would Montreal be near the top of that list just because they haven't, I think out of all the cities, they've been kind of the one that's been the longest without an event, and that used to be a mainstay when George St. Pierre was in the UFC. Is that something you're looking at?
Well, obviously, Toronto is a big one for us. You know, that's the one that I always think is, when we go back to Canada, we go to Toronto, it'll be a massive event. And then once and I'm not saying that's what we're doing, I'm just off the top of my head right here. But you get in Toronto, and then you start moving around Canada like we did when we first went into the country.
Dana, sorry, just one more quick one for you.
Yeah.
Can you clarify what happened with Darren Till's release? He said he came to you guys and asked to be let go, but you know, online fans think because of his losing skid, maybe you guys released him.
They think that what?
That maybe you guys like cut him because of his recent losses, but he says you guys, or he came to you and requested his release.
Well, like Darren Till said, we have an incredible relationship with Darren Till. We like him and we respect him very much. And, you know, let me just put it to you this way. Darren Till's not the only guy that's ever come to us and said, I just can't compete here anymore. You know what I mean? And, no, he did ask for his release, and we did release him.
He says he wants to be back in like 2-3 years or something. Is that something you'd be open to if he maybe gets back on track a little bit?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what his plans are for outside of the UFC, but you know, he's a guy that we've had a great relationship with. We really like him, and obviously we wish him the best. And if he gets to a level where he thinks he's ready to come back to the UFC, yeah, we would probably do it. Yep.
Hey, Dana, one final question to your left here. What did Brady say about Jon Jones?
What did who say?
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady?
What did he say about Jones?
Yeah, I mean, he was he loves Jon Jones, you know, and obviously everybody in the arena was blown away by what happened tonight. And but yeah, he's a Jon. He flew in today from Florida to see the fight, so he's a fan. And him and Chandler got the hook up again tonight before he walked out. Got to see him, and but yeah, that's it.
Dana, one quick one. A lot of fans on Twitter are talking about like that result makes them want to see Francis fight more. Is that road like completely done now?
They want to see Francis do what?
Fight Jones still even more because of that.
I tried to make that fight. Yeah.
So is that like completely done now? Like,
done. Never gonna happen. We tried to make that fight with him for 3 years. You gotta want that fight. Doesn't matter what listen. We all want to see a fight. The guy's gotta want the fight. Francis doesn't want the fight. You can't make him fight. And I doubt it would have gone any differently.
Dana, down to your right. Do you know what happened with Jon Jones's foot when he was walking into the octagon? It seemed like there was a problem with some tape he had on it.
Yeah, I don't know what was up with that. I think he tried to tape his feet, and the commission didn't let him do it when he walked out. Yeah, I didn't find out what that was about yet.
And obviously he's 35, but other than Stipe, do you think Jon will be around for a lot longer? Like, if you fight Stipe, is there anyone else really, or do you think he'll leave?
Well, like I was telling Kevin earlier, Jon Jones is one of those guys that so good, so talented. But like I said, he's like dealing with an artist. And he makes a lot of money, man. Not a lot of people can say, you know what, I'm going to take 3 years off and not work. So who knows? I mean, if he wants to fight Stipe, so we'll make the Stipe fight, and then whatever he wants to do after that, we'll be lucky if we get to see him again, you know. Or maybe he doesn't. Maybe he retires after that. I don't know.
Finally, we're back in London in a few weeks. I know you love a London fight night, so
yeah.
How excited are you for Edwards and Usman 3?
I'm excited. I got the slap finale coming up next weekend, and then I jump on a plane and go right to Boston. We're filming Looking for a Fight, and then I go to England for the fight. So I got a fun couple weeks coming up. I'm looking forward to it, and I'll land in England like the day of St. Paddy's Day, which I heard is awesome there too. So I'm looking forward to all of it.
Hey, Dana,
Thanks.
over here.
Yep.
Keith Whittier with Ottawa Life Magazine. First of all, congratulations to you and your team for a fantastic night of fights.
Thank you.
Over the course of the 30 years of the UFC, there have been many amazing accomplishments, breaking down barriers like years ago, fighting in New York would have been unheard of, and now it's just a thing. What's the next big accomplishment that you and your team are looking at?
Fighting in New York would have been unheard of. Now we're number 1, number 2, and number 4 all time at Madison Square Garden. Yeah, I'm the thing that I'm looking forward to the most. I mean, my team, you'd have to ask them themselves, but what I'm looking forward to is obviously the PI that's opening in Mexico, the type of talent that's going to come out of there in the next 5 or 6 years, and opening a PI in Africa and doing our first event in Africa. Those are really the 2 things that I'm the most excited about right now. So the PI and the fight in Africa is something that I need to get done before my time here is done.
Dana, you actually led into my question. Is there an update on getting the PI in Africa, getting an event in Africa?
Working on the PI in Mexico first. And like I was saying, I was telling one of the reporters the other day, you know, these PIs are crazy expensive. And what it is it's a huge reinvestment in the sport and into the talent that's possibly out there. So we're going to get this thing built, get it up and running, and once that thing's up and running smoothly, then we'll start looking at Africa and putting together a timeline to build one where, and you know, because you gotta fly a whole team out there, and they figure out where the best place is and look at the property and figure all that stuff out, and then we got to look at the cost, and it takes a minute.
Hey Dana.
Yep.
Bo Nickal's probably the most hyped prospect since Khamzat Chimaev. How would you compare the hype from Bo Nickal to Khamzat Chimaev thus far?
I don't know. It's different. You know, it's so different because, you know, Bo comes from, you know, collegiate background, you know, more well-known going into this thing than Khamzat was. Khamzat fights on Fight Island during COVID. Then he jumps out and tells me he wants to fight again next weekend, and I'm like, okay, let's do it. And you know, that whole Khamzat thing just started rolling organically after that. Two totally different types of hype.
And lastly, what would you make of Jake Gyllenhaal's physique at 185-pound division for the movie Roadhouse?
Listen, what can I say? He looks good. I don't think he's been USADA tested, but he looks great.
Paulo Costa's secret juice might have helped him.
What's that?
Maybe he's using too much of Paulo Costa's secret juice.
Possibly. Go ahead, sir.
Dana, Shavkat Rakhmonov has been long compared to Khamzat Chimaev, except he just doesn't speak English, right? But the skill-wise, skill for skill, is Shavkat just someone that you can get behind? Like, how close is he to contender status, title shot?
Well, tonight was a big night for him, obviously, not just because he won, but that he was in a dogfight and in a war. And you know, you guys saw at the weigh-ins that day. He got a big pop at the weigh-ins already, and then you go in and you beat a guy like Neil, and you beat him the way that you did in an absolute, you know, when you think about all the things that we love as fight fans, it doesn't get any better than that. That's why I'm paying it. This kid didn't make weight, and it's a rule. It's a law. If you are a professional, if you don't show up here and you don't make weight, you don't get a bonus, period. And I don't think we've ever cracked on that. After that fight, I was like, I don't give a shit if he made weight or not, man. We're paying that dude 50 grand. That was incredible. Both guys had incredible heart. Just, you couldn't watch a better fight than that. It was awesome. And I love that shit. So anyway, this isn't even what you asked me, but
one final.
Yeah, he's in a good place. Yeah.
One final for me. Speaking of Khamzat Chimaev, there's been reports that he's moving up to middleweight permanently. Can you confirm that?
I hope so. Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyway, over here.
Yep.
David Potter, good seeing you again. Congratulations also on an incredible night, incredible evening, great fights. You've had a relationship with Jon Jones since he was 21 years old, and 2 years later he has the weight in the world on his shoulders as a world champion. Having to grow as a person with millions and millions of people watching and being called the GOAT at such a young age, how would you describe his growth as a person and also his growth as a fighter?
Yeah, I think that, winning the championship at 21 and becoming famous and making a lot of money, some people handle it well and some people don't. We've seen guys just completely go off the rails. And Jon Jones is a very unique case because he's gone off the rails, but he's managed to... He's almost like a functional, he's been able to do what most people couldn't do, even if they were straight. If they walked a straight line, they couldn't do what Jon Jones has done. So, I don't know. He's a unique individual. He's different than everybody else. And like I said earlier, he's special. He's just different, and he's the greatest of all time. There's no denying it now. And I don't even really know how to answer your question. Yeah.
We're heading towards the end of Power Slap, the first season. I happen to like the product. I love the product. I think it's going to take a little bit longer for people to jump on the bandwagon. The same people that criticize Power Slap are the same people that share videos of people getting viciously and brutally knocked out. I like the product, but how long do you think people are going to climb on the bandwagon just like they did with MMA?
Listen, what I've gone through with Slap is deja vu from UFC. Exact same thing. It wasn't fucking media like this here. Back then, it was nobody. We literally would try to beg people to show up to our press conferences. Nobody covered the UFC in the early days. People act like they did now, but they're full of shit.
Yeah, Sure Dog and UG were probably the only...
That's it. And those guys didn't have the money to travel around to some of the places that we went to do fights. We were at a press conference one time. I've told the story before, and I don't know how we got the couple of media people that were there, but one guy was Spanish, Mexican. It was a Mexican newspaper or something, and I had Tito Ortiz up there, and the guy goes, Tito, starts talking to Tito. Tito goes, I don't speak Spanish. I shit you not, the guy got up and walked out of the press conference. He was one of two guys that were there. So, if you look at Slap, it's identical to everybody in the media ripping it apart, and I just, in a couple weeks, I'll let you guys know, and I can't wait to stay. I told you so.
And one more question from me. Jake Gyllenhaal, obviously, filming Roadhouse. Great scenes that were filmed yesterday, also the fight scenes. I personally think it was a late stoppage with that flying knee. So how has the business relationship been for them to come in and say, hey, we want to do filming? What was the process of getting that done?
Well, I said it earlier. We have a good relationship with Joel Silver, and he's one of the biggest producers ever. I mean, if you look at the movies he's made, it's every movie we ever watched growing up, from Weird Science to, you name it. This guy's done it. And he was actually, Lorenzo and I went and met with him many years ago, like 15 years ago. And, we were talking about the UFC, and he ended up putting Tito, Chuck, and Randy in a couple of his movies. What was it? The ones with Jet Li. When they Jet Li and DMX, and I can't remember the name of the movies.
Cradle to the Grave.
Yes, Cradle to the Grave. Thank you. And, that what started our relationship with Joel Silver, and then he's very close to Ari, so we were willing to do this with him.
Always a pleasure. Thank you very much, Dana.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Hey Dana, Jon Jones is the GOAT. Who do you have in your top 5 of all time?
Shit, right here off the top of my head. I mean, you got to go Jones, GSP, Anderson Silva, and 2 more that I can't think of right now off the top of my head. But yeah, those are my top 3.
And one more, Dana, I'm sorry.
What's that?
Can you take me back to your first meeting with Jon Jones? What was that like, your first time you ever met him?
Oh, shit, I don't remember. That was a long time ago, man. I don't remember my first ever meeting with him. Yeah, I have no clue. You guys done with me? Have a great night. Thanks, everybody.